Hello, my name is Harriet Story, and I'm the one that does the dried fruits and vegetables for the Hart Square. And it's a real good job, and it's something that's very interesting, and children sure like to eat them. So I'm going to show you today. First of all, I'm going to show you what we do with apples. We lots of times we string them up like this, and then, you know, our cook stoves, we cook breakfast, lunch, and what we call then was supper on them, so they stayed warm most of the time. So we hung all these behind the stove, and that's where we dried them lots of times. And some other people use different things. And before I peel my apple, I'm going to show you. This is pumpkin, and it's real good dried. And this is white butternut squash. And this is sweet potatoes. And to make them a little bit more tasty, I have put sugar and cinnamon on them, and children love those. And we also, back then, we had to dry our nuts and things, because we didn't get them up early. You know who got them? The little squirrels got them. So we'd pick them up and shell them out and dry them. And then here again is the apples. I think we did more apples back there than anything. And as I said, a lot of the other stuff was just for treats and things for the children. And I want to show you a real good treat. This is a lemon. And you take this and wash it real good and slice it real good, real thin. And then roll it in sugar and dehydrate it. It makes a delicious little treat for the children for Christmas. And oranges are good the same way too. And you can also dry your squash. It's easy. You do it just like you do all this other. And then we have the peas here. We lots of times we'll string them up in the pods, and then sometimes we shell them and then we string them up. And all of these things are necessities, because we have to dry a lot of this stuff because we have no other way of keeping it. And our husbands, if they have time, will make us wooden buckets that we can store the stuff in, because that was what we had. Or like these apples here, lots of times after they're dried, they're stored in one of those sacks that flour comes in, and they hang them back behind the kitchen stove, and they stay there till we use them all up. And as I said before, apples is one of the biggest things that we ever dried, because the children love to eat them too, and they make delicious pies. And so I'm going to peel this apple here and show you how we did it back then. And you know, we have our orchards, and we always have our apples, and then we can go out and get them when we want them and sit down and peel them. And if some of the children are big enough, they can help you with it. They like to string them up. And there's a lot of things that we do dry behind the kitchen stove. And we also would dry meats of different kinds too, and have like beef jerky out of it. And then we just peel it just like we're going to cook it or eat it, and then we just slice it like this if we're going to dry it flat. And a lot of people had things like screen doors up over their kitchen stove, and they would dry them up there, because, as I said before, our stove stayed hot most of the time because we had to cook 3 meals a day on them. And so it didn't take but about a week for these to dry up over the kitchen stove. And then whenever we took them down, we always took them down, and we took a big pan of them and we put them in the oven. And I asked, because I was small at that time, and I asked why. Grandma said, well, we're getting all the germs off of them, and she would heat them real good in the oven. And then if she had any of the crocks that they used, some of them back then, because the women did make some of them, or either the bags. Then they'd put them in those things and keep them closed up until they were ready to use. But the women dried everything. Now corn is real good dried too. And whenever you cook it, it comes back to life just about like real fresh corn. And there was just lots and lots and lots of things that we dried. And we had to dry it because it was the only way. Let me show you how we do this right here. Okay, we keep a great big onion, or a needle, and you can see I have an extra one here if this one gets lost. And we just string up these apples just like this on a big old long string. And then we just take them and hang them behind the kitchen stove, and it's not long before they are dry. And then we take them and put them in the oven and for a little while to make sure they're all good and dry. Then we'll put them in our crocks or in a good tight vessel that we have, or in the cloth bags. And you can see you can get an awful lot. It takes a long time to string a string this long of apples, but boy, they are good. And whenever we dry all of this stuff and put it up like we do in our bags or on our strings, we can keep it the whole winter. And we'll have some maybe in the earliest part of the spring to make a nice dried apple pie, if we can keep the children out of the dried apples. And we do keep most of this. If we make a good sized quantity of it, we can keep it till the spring of the year. And then start all over again when the new ones comes out. And cherries, dried cherries are delicious. Yeah. And it's a lot of work, but it's real interesting to do it all.